Alright, this here is a Samsung HMX-H100. This is their high-definition camcorder from 2009. I was actually kind of surprised by this thing when I first started looking up videos of it. It looks a lot bigger on video than it actually is in real life. This thing is absolutely tiny. But it does have a decent bit of weight for it for the size of camera that it is. It definitely weighs more than the HFR 42 from Canon that I'm recording with right now. This camera does have a couple of cool features and a couple of little drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is that it only takes an SDHC card up to 32 gigabytes, which I can understand that because in 2009 they didn't have SDXC cards yet. And playing around with the formatting will not get it to work, much the way that it does with the Canon HFS21. Cool things about this camera, it's got a little swiveling grip, which is kind of useful if you're trying to get like low shots. I saw a couple of people say that this would be a good camera to start out with for skateboarding because it's so much easier to get low shots with it. Zoom speed on it is actually fairly decent, although the zoom lever, as you can see, is about the same size as the zoom lever on the Canon HV20. Anybody remember that joke of a zoom lever? Photo button does have 2 steps. It's a nice upgrade from the HMX-F40 that I used a little while ago. It's got a little flash on the front. They put some decent photo things on here, even though it does not take very good photos, but the video quality on this is surprisingly good. Part of that might be thanks to that optical image stabilization that this has built in, that actually has decent stabilization. I was kind of surprised by that too. Opening the screen turns it on. It always starts up a little bit zoomed in, so you gotta zoom it out whenever you turn it on. It's basically the same interface that they had on a lot of their camcorders around about that time, except this one's a touchscreen. Touchscreen. Have I mentioned that I hate touchscreens? I think some of these you can fuck with during video, like white balance, exposure value, focus. Let's see, on the inside we've got a button for the flash, a button to turn the stabilizer on and off, Easy Q, which is like Sony's easy button, display on and off, and no, pushing the display button while it is off does not give you an indication of the battery life. This camera actually has some fairly decent manual controls to it, and in decent lighting the video actually does look pretty good. It's actually a lot the same as some higher end cameras where the picture quality degrades immensely when you're in low light. There is one big thing about this camera that pretty much makes video off of it almost entirely unusable. The audio on this thing is overmodulated. Optical stabilizer is actually kind of okay, but the audio is unusable on this camera. It's a damn shame that this thing has the problem that it does with audio, because it actually has some editing features inside of the menus on playback, and if you can actually figure out the editing that it has inside of here, you can fully edit together a video without using a computer, although unlike the standard definition version, sometimes when you're editing in camera on this thing, the high definition video does go out of sync. But the fact is that you can actually edit in camera with this thing. Now why you would want to with a battery as small as what it's got installed right there, I don't know. But the option's there. I should also mention that this thing has editing software built into it that you can use on your computer. The editing software is absolutely bare bones basic. It's a lot more simplified than Windows Movie Maker, and you get a lot less features. So you're best off just using the MP4 videos out of this thing in whatever editing package you have. Just make sure that you set it to deinterlace, because I don't think that this thing has the interlacing flag set in the metadata. It does record a true 1920 by 1080 picture. It just doesn't have interlacing set properly, so you have to know to set that. Look at how small the opening for the lens is. That's absolutely tiny, considering the massive thing that they have on the front here. Although that has microphones on the other side. Seems vaguely reminiscent of another Canon camera that was out around about that time. I think it was the HFS10. Yeah. So if you can actually find a workaround for the audio and you make sure that you shoot in decent light, you can get some fairly decent video out of this camera. I mean, for 50 bucks on eBay, it's good as like a backup camera, but I would not use this as a main video camera. I think for mine, I'm going to stick with using my HFS21 or my Canon XF100 if I need to shoot something in a more professional setting.